Happy Monday. Welcome in to another edition of Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. We have somewhat proper equipment to use this morning. We found out at the last second.
That's exciting. 2 ears. I'll wear headphones today then. Get excited, everybody. I'm wearing headphones.
Get fired up. Rexrode's got headphones on. Rexrode, how we doing? What's going on?
Good. I know that you had Allison's first birthday party yesterday, so that's exciting. We want to hear about that. I will tell you that this morning, today is the first day of school in Williamson County. Nolensville High School. I have 2 Nolensville high schoolers, freshman and senior. The freshman, she was up at 5 a.m. as I was about to leave the house on a FaceTime call with 13 other people.
13?
Yes. A 14-person FaceTime call as they all she's like listening to music and like getting ready for the first day of school. I'm like, dude, it's 5 a.m.
That has got to be the first time in human history that's happened at that time.
I don't know. But just, that's where things could be going.
Yeah.
For young Allison. You got Caroline here who's not quite 14. 14 people on a FaceTime call for 2 hours getting ready for school.
That is intense.
It is intense, man. Yes. The senior will wake up 5 minutes before school starts.
Yes. Keyser, how we doing? What's going on?
Doing well. Yeah, had a nice weekend. Got to hang out with a lot of familiar faces and, ready to get the week started.
That's good. Joe, speaking of your children, a lot of positive feedback all weekend to Brennan Rexrode sports takes over the weekend as well.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Jared, of course, we saw Jared this weekend, and he had some crosswords for Brennan, but that's fine.
Well,
yeah,
it's probably doing okay then.
Yeah, exactly. That means you did well. So, yeah, people seem to like that. So I said, somebody was like, "Hey, let's have more of that." I'm like, "Well, school starts next week, so how about in a year?"
Maybe Christmas break. We'll see if we can get it figured out.
That's true.
We'll take your thoughts all show long. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Corey Curtis from News 2 will be with us at 8 o'clock for his weekly visit. Lots going on. Lots to get into today, both with the Titans and the Vols as well. Heupel continuing to do some recruiting out there. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show as well. We begin with the news of the day yesterday. The Titans have made yet another addition at safety. Quandre Diggs signing a 1-year deal for the Titans. We talked about that possibility when Jamal Adams was discussing it a couple of weeks ago in his introductory press conference of, yep, I'm in contact with Diggs. Hopefully we're able to land him. I was like, well, does that mean the Titans are actively pursuing him? And I guess now we know the answer to that question. They are, and Diggs is the newest member of the Tennessee Titans. So not only do you get Jamal Adams, you also get Diggs. What do you make of that move and what the Titans have now done to address the safety position this offseason?
Yeah, it's first of all, I think it's clear. I think it maybe was before, but now, I mean, this is easily the most accomplished secondary in Tennessee Titans history. I would say, I'd just go ahead and just guess that it would be the most accomplished secondary in franchise history. I can't really remember. I mean, I know the Oilers have, had some good players over the years and all that, but not necessarily great players in the secondary that I can recall. I mean, this is, of course, a lot of these guys are past their prime. Diggs is among them. Adams also. But, you're talking about 2 guys highly decorated, especially, I mean, it wasn't long ago at all that Diggs was a Pro Bowler, 2 years ago.
Yep.
So I think this is the ad that now you may alter the starting lineup. I think with Adams, like we've talked about, I think he's going to be a factor in there if he's healthy, and I think he can help them in some ways potentially. But I never really bought him as a starting full-time safety. I do Diggs. I think Diggs now, he's coming right in here. And there's plenty of time, too. You think about the Jonathan Cyprien injury and Kenny Vaccaro signing. I think it was later in camp than this. No, there haven't been any preseason games yet. I think the timing's good for him to probably beat out Elijah Molden. By the way, I think Elijah Molden has looked fine out there. The funny thing also is about most of these guys, again, like yesterday, you're out on the field, the practice field, and Adams, Chidobe Awuzie, and L'Jarius Sneed are all in street clothes watching, right? So that's and 2 planned. Owuzie has the calf. There's a lot of injury possibilities with these guys. Diggs, though, does not get hurt. Like, Diggs plays every game. He played every game the last 4 seasons. So 17, 17, 17, and a 16 before that. So the durability factor with him is very good. Now he's 31, so sometimes that'll change once you get in the 30s. But I like the signing a lot. I mean, look, if you gave me a choice between the two, I'd take Diggs every time over Adams, but they signed them both.
Yeah.
So bring the Seahawks, half the Seahawks secondary here. It's the amount of talent and potential in this Titans secondary. It's pretty striking how different it is from a year ago.
Well, it's totally revamped, right? I mean, it's a totally revamped secondary. And I like the Diggs move. I mean, we were talking about that move before Adams, right? Like Diggs, I would have been cool with. There's, Simmons obviously was out there too. You could have gone after. There's, I think, a really, really a lot of potential in this secondary now. And, Adams, I think this also allows you to use him really how they plan to use him the whole time, which is very skillfully. And, basically on that box line safety that
like
they
a big goal,
yeah,
whatever you call it.
Yeah. So I think this frees you. And if Molden continues to impress and to play well, then you've got a little bit of depth there too. Which, fast forward, rewind us back a month ago and talk about depth at safety, and you wouldn't have thought there was much there. But if Molden continues to play well, and now you have Diggs and Adams along with it, all of a sudden you've built up a little bit of depth in the back end as well. So I like corner. Woozie's not been on the field, but we've seen him enough to know that he's a good player. Snead, we know what he is. Obviously McCreary's been really good. We talked last week about Brownlee and the way he's playing at camp. Like,
very good at that.
They've got some really good pieces in their secondary, which I think Titans fans should be really excited about.
Yeah, this basically rounds it out to where, like you said, I mean, you now actually have depth and flexibility and different options. It's a really good secondary. I mean, Mike Herndon last night tweeted the Titans had the best secondary in the NFL. And at first I was like, dude, easy. But I will say, like, certainly if most things worked out like best case scenario, they'd probably have a shot at that. I mean, again, that's like, is Snead going to be Snead from last year? Okay, that's a huge thing. Is Owuzie going to be the best Owuzie? Are they going to, participation and how healthy? But there are also options too, because people will get hurt, and now they have an answer, and they have a little versatility to move people in different spots if they need to. I mean, Amani Hooker and Roger McCreary, the 2 holdovers, are really good.
Yeah. Roger
McCreary looks great this camp, by the way. And it's just, you don't lose that in the shuffle. He looks really good out there. So I don't know. In fact, I guess that'd be an interesting thing to get into a little bit. Like, who are the best secondaries in the NFL? Who comes to mind immediately? I mean, like, there's great players. Obviously, like, Sauce Gardner's a great player on a great defense, but I don't know. That's an interesting one. I'd like to see a secondary ranking now, including the updated Titans roster, and see where but it's not too far from the top, I would say.
No, I think it's got to be pretty close to the top. Chef Ran on YouTube asking, is Adams injured? And also says, don't leave out Matthew Jackson in terms of our depth conversation too.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean,
got a lot of picks.
This is a tough. Yeah, he's got 3 picks in camp, and he's definitely a nice young player who's pushing. But this is one of those signings where, now a guy like that, obviously gets knocked down a peg, and But as far as Adams, they're making it sound like it's just a maintenance thing. Obviously, he's had his own injury history, and he's got the different thing from Snead. But both of them, the way Brian Callahan has described it, that's the plan with them. Whereas obviously Owuzie, and this is one great thing about Brian Callahan's talking about injuries. Owuzie has a calf.
Yep.
And Brownlee has a blister on his foot, so he keeps going in and taping it up and stuff like that. It may not sound like much, but I mean,
it's pretty annoying.
Cut out there and everything. Yeah, it's going to affect you. So it appears that this is just a maintenance thing with Adams. I would think that there'd be a pretty good chance of some of those guys being back when we see them again on Wednesday.
And by the way, to that point, Brian Callahan kind of reiterating no timetable with Owuzie getting back out there, and did say, when you're dealing with a calf, as he has personal experience in dealing with their team last year, sometimes you can come back too soon and cause some problems, a la Joe Burrow a year ago.
Yeah,
when he could not throw a forward pass here.
Yes, yeah, that's right. So yeah, they'll be very careful with that, and so it's just more opportunity for Brownlee. And now, it'll be really interesting to see. Hey, I don't expect Molden to just fade into the background. I mean, and Diggs is up there now. I mean, he came in the league in 2015, so that could be another. We may have ourselves another actual competition at a position now with the Titans.
I got a text that says on the Diggs signing, but can he play right tackle? I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, Jamal Adams, if they're moving to linebacker, why not go one more spot, one more level?
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Your reaction to the signing of Quandre Diggs by the Tennessee Titans. What do you make of the revamped secondary that Rand Carthon and the Titans have constructed this offseason? Do you think it is the best secondary in the NFL? We'll get your thoughts on all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Stay in touch with Quandre Diggs much?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, we talk every day, man. Every day. Obviously, I'm the type, and he knows me. We've known each other for so long, since we were kids, and I'm not gonna, push him to come here. Obviously, I would love for him to be here, but he has to figure out his process, on his own, and he will eventually. I know there's so many teams looking at him, and hopefully we get him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
That's Jamal Adams a couple weeks ago discussing the signing or the pursuit of Quandre Diggs at that point. Titans making it official yesterday, signing Quandre Diggs. What do you make of the revamped secondary that the Titans have put together this offseason with Diggs and Adams coming in? Obviously, a woozy and free agency, the trade of L'Jarius Sneed. How do you think the secondary for the Titans stacks up against the rest of the NFL? Taking your thoughts on that, 615-737-1025. Mr. G on the text line says the 49ers have the best secondary in the league.
His 49ers.
His 49ers.
So
I don't know about that.
So that is a good one for sure. Obviously, they have Travarius Ward
They do.
As the star of that unit. If you want to go PFF rankings from, which I feel like we're really big fans of PFF, from just last month, they have the Niners second. They do have the Jets first.
Okay.
With Sauce Gardner, Michael Carter, DJ Reed. That another one that I should have thought of immediately, like the Ravens, they have them fourth,
Yep.
like with Hamilton and Humphrey, Marcus Williams. Dolphins with Ramsey and Fuller and Poyer. That's their top five. Browns, Denzel Ward, and Newsome, Emerson. Titans, according to PFF, 15th. Now at that point, they had not added Adams, which I don't think would have moved the needle that much, frankly, or Diggs, which would.
Yep.
Because their point about the Titans was the highest graded safety on this team last year was Amani Hooker at just 65.0. So, I don't know. Maybe the Titans.
They're in the top five now?
I don't know about.
Who knows?
I don't know about top five, but I think maybe that would bump them to top 10. Maybe
so.
But that's the thing too. It's like, well, first of all, I think like there's no mention of McCreary, and people are sleeping on him. He's going to be good.
He's good.
He's a good player, and like Brownlee too. I mean, like the corner group, they have this depth now. That's a good pick. I think Brownlee is perfect for this defense. So we'll see, but I think they're top 10. And yeah, I mean, I think we could make a case for them right around the range of top 5, maybe at least like top 7, something like that.
I got a texter that says J-Rob as GM equaled solid offensive line and Cheeks secondary. Rand as GM equals better secondary, but Cheeks offensive line. Balance isn't something they know. Impressive use of the word Cheeks.
Yeah, I like the Cheeks, but I don't think that's a good assessment. I mean, the offensive line's issues right now trace back to J-Rob, right? Now, granted, the choice of Dillard was a bad one. And we're going to find out on the choice of Skoronski.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to end up being a bad one. So the offensive line issues have to do with Isaiah Wilson, Dylan Radins. I mean, we'll see. Petit Frere, third-round pick. That's a J-Rob pick. Early on, obviously, getting Conklin, getting even like Dennis Kelly, signing Ben Jones, really good for him. But yeah, I would not. I'm trying to J-Rob secondaries. He did sign a lot of guys who were pretty good. I mean, he signed Logan Ryan,
Yep.
And Malcolm Butler he did okay. Great drafting of Byard and Hooker.
Yep.
So actually, everything's wrong about your text. I'm sorry.
Your
text is completely wrong.
I mean, there's Jonathan Joseph he brought in, and
yes, that is.
you're not going to hit 100%, but I mean, there were some rough ones in there too.
Yes.
The drafting of Caleb Farley being among them.
And even that's right. And even the Adoree Jackson pick, like, it wasn't what you hoped. It wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't good enough.
Matt says, if the Titans have a successful season this year, what do you guys predict will be the main reason? Will it be coaching or the roster changes? Like, my answer on that is always roster, but the truthful answer is probably a combination of the two, but roster will always, to me, be more important than coaching in the NFL.
Yeah, but if they're successful, I think both are going to end up being pretty good. They're going to coach their butts off to be good this year, right?
But if you ask me the main reason, it would be the roster.
Sure. Yeah, the main reason I think for anything in this league is the roster. Coaching's very important, of course. But yeah, it's always number 2 for me.
Yep. I mean, the secondary now, it's going to put even more to the test what we've been talking about with the pass rush. You know, if Arden Key's suspension for 6 games just really hurts them on the other side, and they're not able to generate the type of pass rush that you're looking for. I mean, I guess the good news is you feel good about your ability to cover back there, but we've talked about it. Doesn't really matter how good your secondary is if you can't get after the quarterback. I'm not saying that they're not going to be able to get after the quarterback because they still do have Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry and Devondre Sweat, who we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. But they certainly have loaded up their back end, and we'll see whether or not that can overcome what could be a potential issue with the pass rush.
Yeah.
Maybe Jamal Adams is just going to rush the passer now all the time.
I tell you, when he's on the field, I think as a blitzer, he could be pretty effective, and they're definitely going to send some different pressures. Yeah, you'd always pick. I mean, again, this is it's almost like the coaching talent situation. I mean, it's not like there's a huge gap, but if you had to pick one being great, I'm going to pick roster over coaches.
Yeah,
it's close, but I'm going to pick roster. And if you got to pick one being great, pass rush or pass defense, secondary, I'm picking pass rush every time. You know, you can help average corners be a lot better if you have a great pass rush. The greatest corners on earth are ultimately, you know, like the greatest area on earth is ultimately going to give up plays if there's no pass rush.
Yep.
If the quarterback can sit back there and just pat the ball and wait. So, but yeah, I think that the interior potential and then the secondary could make the edge situation less of an issue. And someone asked about Arden Key, by the way, on the text line. I don't know why it hasn't been made official by the league.
Yeah.
And Arden the other day didn't want to talk about it, but like, don't get into your head like there's something like it's a real thing. It just hasn't been made official, and he's not talking about it. He told people on the team that he'd be missing the first 6 games a couple weeks ago. So it's a real thing. I don't know exactly why the timing on the NFL announcement hasn't happened yet, but don't. If you're asking Austin from Clarksville because you're wondering if there's a chance, there's no chance. It's real.
Yeah. Jared from Spring Hill asking, so because nobody wanted to sign Diggs and Adams, we're convinced they're elite because Rand signed them. Titans Nation has lost their minds and needs to stay grounded. This is from Jared from Spring Hill on the text line.
So I don't know I don't know what that's a reference to in terms of if people are like getting Super Bowl, hotel rooms. Yeah, and the Adams thing, I think we largely threw cold water on it, which of course was part of the whole Jeffrey Simmons thing because it was immediate cold water on that, right?
Yes.
I mean, if there were the occasional Titans like, yeah, Jamal Adams, it's like, dude, have you not watched football since 2019? Like, calm down. Now Diggs I think it's a good signing. It's Rappaport, who was here yesterday, reported it's 3, and then you got a mill for participation, you got a mill for other performance incentives, so up to 5. He's a good player. He's not a great player. He's 31, but it's a nice ad. It's a good ad. So no, I mean, no one's the elite of the secondary. Jared is L'Jarius Sneed is one of the top 3 corners, 3-4 corners in the NFL. Chidobe Awuzie is a really good corner. Roger McCreary is going to be really good this year. And Amani Hooker, I just read the PFF grade, wasn't very good, but Amani Hooker is a good player. With some of them, especially Hooker and Sneed, I want to know how many games they're playing this year. But yeah, no, they have a chance. They have a chance to be elite, not because of Diggs and Adams, but those are, especially Diggs. It's a nice ad. Now they have some depth to go with it too.
Well, and you're hoping not only the depth, but hopefully Diggs has still got a year or 2 of really good football left in the tank, right? That Diggs and Hooker, if that's your starting safety duo, can be really formidable out there. And if you stay relatively healthy, the proven football of your starters that we've seen from these guys in their NFL career will be pretty darn good. That's a pretty darn high level of play that we've seen from Sneed and Awuzie and McCreary and Diggs and Hooker as a starting, what we would presume to be the starting secondary at that point. So you're feeling I think pretty good about that if you're Denard Wilson and Brian Callahan looking at it.
Yeah, it's a really nice looking secondary. Nathan from Lawrenceburg, are they loading up the back end because the front end is weak? I mean, I think they'd like to load up everything, right? Yeah. They're I still think they need to do something else at edge. So maybe that's next. I don't know. They have the cap space.
They do.
If they need to do that, I think they should. I think they should think about that. But I mean, every GM wants to get better.
Yeah. Well, to answer the question, I don't know if they looked at it and said, well, we don't feel great about edge, so let's just go sign a safety. I think they looked at safety and said, yeah, we need another safety. Like, I think it's independent of just the edge rushing lack of depth there.
Yeah, Diggs is available.
Right.
We can afford it, and he helps.
615-737-1025, our phone number. A Titan back on the field this weekend at practice. What sort of impact can he make? Also, a rookie out there turning some heads. We'll get into all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Yeah, I mean, I've been getting comfortable. That's something that I kind of told teams when they were looking at me during draft process, that like once I get into a rhythm and I really am part of the team and I get a chance to get comfortable and get to know the guys and feel like, this is my home, this is somewhere where I want to be, like my personality changes and I just grow way more into the team. And I really believe in the things that we are doing here. I believe in the guys that I've been around. And from the coaching staff all the way down to the trainers to the janitors, like every single person I met here has been top notch. I'm blessed to be here, and it's an amazing.
As Nicholas Petit-Frere, he is back on the practice field. Came back this weekend for a couple of days of practice for the Tennessee Titans and has been cleared, obviously, from the PUP out there on the field. Joe, we've talked a lot about Nicholas Petit-Frere in camp so far, particularly for somebody that up until Saturday had not been out on the field in camp. There's obviously, I think, a tremendous amount of pressure from the standpoint of the Titans really need him to be the guy that steps into the right tackle role and is able to handle it and is able to be a solid starter over on the right side. Because if he can't do that, I don't know that there's anybody on the roster that really can, that you feel good about at this point. So there's gonna be a lot of eyes on Petit-Frere as he kind of enters into these next few weeks here of practice in the preseason, into the preseason games. I have no idea how much he's going to play or not play in the preseason games. We know the starters are going to play some, so I would imagine he'll be out there some, but I'm interested to see what that looks like. But, in terms of just the readiness by week 1 against Chicago of this offensive line, there's a lot on Bill Callahan and Petit-Frere specifically over the next few weeks here to get up to speed. They need him to be good.
Yeah, they do. And I would say a couple days in, I don't know. I don't have one play in particular yesterday. Petit-Frere, first of all, it's not like it's just all Petit-Frere. It's like you're in, you're the guy. I don't know. You can get into this talking about who's playing with what team, and it's supposedly not allowed or whatever. But just say that, I wouldn't say that it's immediately like he comes on the field and it's like, okay, no one else is going to get any reps with the ones.
Right.
But there was one play yesterday where it was Landry, Petit-Frere, pass pro rep, and Landry did his favorite move, the outside speed move and the duck under. And I thought Petit-Frere actually did a really good job of seeing it, reacting to it. And he got his hands kind of on the top of his shoulder pads, just like pushed him down, kind of rerouted him a little bit. I mean, that's a tough move to deal with. So that was a good rep from him. I can't sit here and say that I came away from the weekend with like some really strong feeling either way. I mean, I think he's definitely the best option they have there. And so it's a process and continues this week. And then we'll see Saturday in the first preseason game how much he plays, how much that group plays together. But yeah, he's a very important guy given the state of everything else.
Would you, if you're Brian Callahan, leave the starting offensive line out a little bit longer than maybe some other starting groups in preseason games, just given the fact that, number one, they've not played very much together. I mean, really at all together when you talk about the starting five there. And number two, like that right side, I think everybody can see it in camp, needs as much work as they can get. Would you consider leaving your starting offensive line out there, knowing that there's an injury risk that comes with that, longer than maybe you normally would if you're Brian Callahan?
Yeah, probably. I'd probably think about giving them more time. Callahan talked yesterday about sort of, it's like he's not sure, and I'm sure we're not going to get like a total breakdown of who's playing how much until the game, but sort of like the ones maybe they get more time in practice this week if they're not playing as much, like in terms of their team periods in practice. But they're definitely, it sounds almost like maybe the second game will be really heavy starters, but I don't know. That's me speculating. But yes, I would. I mean, right now, the right side of the line is Petit-Frere and Dylan Radins. I think if they played a game today, I think it'd be Petit-Frere at right tackle and Dylan Radins at right guard. Sadiq Charles is banged up. Sadiq Charles has been ahead of Radins. So, but I mean, that spot also is very much unsettled. And it's just, for the most part, when you're seeing penetration in these team periods, it's on that side of the line that it's coming from a lot more than the other side. Latham, not perfect. Sometimes he gets beat, but more times than not, he's winning right now.
Well, and again, like if you had to hand pick which side the pressure was coming from for a right-handed quarterback, you'd probably like it to be on the right side, so at least he can, see it and he's able to try to get out of the way or get rid of the ball or whatever it is. But it's still not great if the pressure is coming really, really quickly, more consistently than it should be. That's going to have an adverse effect on your offense. You're either not going to be able to get to some of the stuff you need to get to, or your quarterback's just going to be under duress the whole time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's great if you can see it, but if it's in your face in 0.3 of a second, then it doesn't
see it while you're going to the ground.
Right.
Nice
right.
view.
Yeah. So yeah, I would give them extra run together. I feel like they're still, it's still not the same as an NFL game with a plan and a team scouted, and the preseason is not that. It's vanilla compared to that. But yeah, I feel like some of the timing stuff and all that you would think it would benefit from game conditions to some extent.
On the defensive side, and we're trying to find a clip from Callahan yesterday. We'll see if we can't get that a little bit later in the show. But T'Vondre Sweat turning some heads at Titans practice, and apparently had a rep yesterday where he would have caused a safety. Had they been in full contact. Sweat, as we've talked about here on the show, I mean the size just is what it is, and whether it's college or the NFL, when you're somebody that's that big, it can move that well, you're going to be a problem to deal with. I mean, it just is. It's physics. It is what it is, and apparently he is becoming a pretty big problem for the Titans offensive line up the middle, which is good to see.
Oh, yes. Look, there are times I don't remember who had this video, but I think the tweet said something like he just, he made Cushenberry look like Brewer. Of course, last year at times Brewer could get overwhelmed by the really big tackles. He's a huge problem. I mean, T'Vondre Sweat, if the camp for him keeps going as I think the Titans hope, and Tracy Rocker last week saying he wants to be great. He wants it. If he's going to do all the things, trim up a little bit, get to the point. I still want to know the snap count for him. What's a comfortable snap count for him in an NFL game? I think he could be one of the early rookie stars in the league. Seriously, he is going to immediately make a difference and be a problem for people. It's just, I mean, his feet are nimble. He's massive. He's got some nice moves. He's got a variety in there. Uses his hands well. He is a problem.
Here's what Titans head coach Brian Callahan had to say yesterday regarding T'Vondre Sweat in camp.
How much do you feel T'Vondre's presence when you're coaching the offense against him?
A lot. I feel it a lot. He's just so big and so powerful, and he's got real pass rush wiggle for a guy his size. I mean, he can get on the edge and work it. He's got fast hands, and I feel it standing back there. I feel the push. Those are two, him and Jeff inside. You feel that, and you watch him in one-on-ones, and he can win one-on-one, which a lot of times those big guys struggle to win one-on-one. But he's got enough quickness to do it. So I feel him in the middle of the defense, and I think that's a really good thing for us as a team. It's not great for me in practice.
That was Brian Callahan on the Sweat front, which, I mean, if you've ever kind of watched offensive line play and paid attention to it, like, exactly what he's talking about in terms of being able to just feel it out there. And I can imagine with Sweat, that's the case.
I mean, and you watch Sweat and Simmons together, and seriously, like, Simmons looks like a svelte defensive end. Yeah. It's wild, I mean,
and we know Simmons is a big dude.
Yeah, and he is. I mean, he's in good shape, but it's just there's just a difference, and so the combination could be something else. And now you have Landry out there going. I mean, you could see the makings of a good defense. You got a couple holes that just aren't going to be filled. But like you could, I was thinking about this yesterday, like the 2-year view of this defense. If things go the way they hope, then if you add a real difference maker to help Landry on the edge, maybe add another linebacker who's and look, Murray too. I mean, Murray is right now looking like a pretty good addition. We'll see when real games happen, but The guy, the cliche that we love, the chip on the shoulder.
Yeah.
He's got one. And
Yeah.
that's a majorly talented dude. It just hasn't worked out for him. So there's actually a lot right now, I think the overall like offense versus defense, I think there's more to be excited about on the defensive side of the ball right now for the Titans.
Which, depending on your point of view, that could be
and maybe
good news or bad news.
Sure.
I don't know.
You may not like to hear that, but at least it's true of one side of the ball.
That's right. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. Early returns are good on J.C. Latham. We just talked about the Sweat and the problems he's causing. Are the Titans rectifying a big problem that's been in their organization over the last few years? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Get half off to this family-owned Chicago restaurant right here in Nashville. Winners of numerous Best of awards. This is truly one of the best-kept secrets in Nashville. Staley's Chicago Italian Dining brings amazing Italian food to the South, including original Italian beef sandwiches, Vienna Chicago-style hot dogs, and the best gyros south of Chicago. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals to get half off a $20 gift card while supplies last. We were taking your thoughts on the Tennessee Titans. Joe, as we know, the draft has been a big issue for the Titans over the last few years. You brought up Isaiah Wilson and Dylan Radence. We've discussed Caleb Farley, Traylon Burks in the first round. To this point, has not lived up to where he was drafted. There's been a lot of misses for the Titans with prominent picks in the draft as of late. Does it feel like the tide is starting to turn on that as it relates to the Titans and the draft? We know last year you took Skoronski in the first round, Levis in round 2, Spears, who looks to be a pretty big contributor this year, in round 3, Wiley. This year, Latham looks like he's going to be a solid player for you at left tackle. We just talked about Tavondre Sweat, the impact he's having. Last week we talked about Jarvis Brownlee, the impact they're having in camp. Again, camp and practice is one thing. Games is another, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But does it feel like to you the last 2 years the Titans are on their way to having more impactful players hit for them in the draft?
Yeah. What's interesting is I can still look back at 2022. I'm not closing the door on Robinson's last one either. McCreary, as we talked about, McCreary's really good. I'm going to keep talking about McCreary because people are sleeping on him. I mean, look, there's still some stories yet to be written or yet to be finished that maybe haven't been started great. Traylon Burks, we'll see. Traylon Burks looks good. By the way, Traylon Burks got banged up to some extent on Saturday, and basically just went down really hard and was kind of limping around. Talking with some of the other media, it's like one thing Traylon Burks needs to do, he needs to figure out how to fall better.
Yeah.
So he falls hard. He went down hard he went up for a ball, like kind of a 50-50 ball, and just landed on his back. I don't know. But so he got a little bit banged up, was limping around.
Take some of that Taekwondo or whatever Tua did out there to learn how to fall and roll better.
Hey, I mean, you know what? We joke, but learning to fall is very underrated skill. But Burks, Petit Frere. Hey, by the way, Hassan Haskins is, I think, going to make this team. Everybody's forgotten about that guy. Chig, Kyle Phillips, I think he's got to. I mean, I think he's going to be challenged to make this team, but he's also still out there. And you know who else looks good right now? Chance Campbell looks good. I swear to you. I say it every year that he's had a hard time staying healthy. He's had serious injuries. The 2022 draft, Malik Willis, too, is in that. Like, actually.
We'll talk about him later.
Yes. Like, we'll see. There's a lot of them right now. It would be more miss than hit. There's still a chance for some more hits in that one. So that's the Robinson, the 20 and 21 just killer drafts. And 22 still is the problem with that draft is it's always going to be remembered as AJ Brown trade for Burks. So like that's a net negative, right? Of course. Yep. But the last 2 drafts, Skoronski, Levis, Spears, Wiley, 5th round pick Wiley. I mean, right now I think Wiley is tight end 1A or 1B. I mean, it's Chig and Wiley. Wiley, by the way, talks major trash out there. Kaharski asked this question yesterday. Josh and Mason Kinsey, have they earned the right to talk trash? He asked that of Callahan. And Callahan was just like, yeah, I like it brings energy. But man, Wiley going back and forth with the defense, something that's been interesting. Duncan and Dow at the end of that. This year, again, Sweat right now, early on, looks pretty good. Latham looks very good. Brownlee looks quite good. I like Jaquan Jackson. And actually, Jalen Harrell is getting, and I think some of this is necessity because of where they are at edge, but he's getting some significant reps as well. Yep. And, Cedric Gray would like to see more of a push from him right now at linebacker. Of course, that's a spot where you really like that someone drafted there to right now be making more noise. But yeah, I think right now both drafts have a chance to look pretty good. Levis is going to define the last one.
Yes, for sure. I mean, when Levis is going to define what the 23 class for the most part looks like. I mean, but the bottom line is like they've got to start having way more hits than misses in the draft. I mean, that's how you build championship teams in the NFL. I mean, free agency is important. Clearly, the Titans have just demonstrated that with the offseason they've had. I mean, they've signed a lot of free agents. I think we would all agree that they're a better team than they were when the season ended a year ago, and that's largely because of the free agents that they've signed. So I get all that. You can supplement your roster and you can add to your roster with those guys. But if your foundational pieces aren't coming from the draft, I just don't know that you're going to have a long-term formula to win in the NFL. And they've had way too many misses over the past few years. It's part of why John Robinson's not here anymore. I think it's too early to determine whether or not Rand Carthon is totally turning the tide. I do think there's some really encouraging things about a lot of these guys that have been drafted in the last couple of years. Again, like you said, Levis is going to define a lot of it and what he looks like and how well he plays. But they've got to start having like they need Latham to be a star. They need Sweat to be really, really good. They need Skoronski to come back and have a great year this year, independent of whatever's going on with Latham. Like they need Skoronski to be really, really good when you're drafting a guard at number 11. I mean, we joke about the guard all the time, but when you draft a guard there, you need him to be an elite player. So like they need some of these guys to really hit that they've drafted the last few years here if they're going to have a long-term formula for being a team that can compete, especially in this division.
Yeah. I mean, you have 4 starters from the last draft, and right now I think your top 2 picks are definitely starters here. So that's 6 starters from the last 2 drafts, along with guys like Brownlee, Jackson, Gray, who certainly could contribute. It's good. We'll see how it goes. It's just like in 2022, there's still some not great starts that still could be rectified, turned around. It's still obviously very early for this group. Jared from Spring Hill, man, he's having a rough Monday. I know it's Monday morning, Jared. Says, no, the tide isn't turning. Let's hold judgment until midseason. We've taken the fool's gold for truth too many times. The Titans are the Lions of the South with less hope now.
The Lions of the South.
Lions of the South. The Lions are like –
Lions are going to be loaded,
they're
man.
elite. Aren't the Lions an amazing team? That's what everybody's telling me.
Yeah.
Everybody's telling me the Lions are going to the Super Bowl.
Cap.
Yeah, we're not. I mean, look, we can only go on the information we have. It's like I love it. It's like I guess we could just stop, never talk about anything, and just wait until somebody's career is over, and then say, okay, let's judge it now. In real time, I'm telling you, Devondre Sweat's playing really well in camp. He's a difference maker. We'll see. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen in the regular season, but it needs to. Like you said, the point is, these classes have to be really good. And when the Titans got to the 1 seed in 21, that was largely on the strength of the drafting they had done from 16 to 19.
Florida Titan says it also helps tremendously to have good coaching and schemes to maximize the talent. It's all Vrabel. It's Vrabel's fault.
Yeah, is that a shot at Vrabel?
I know that's not what he's
saying. I agree, Florida Titan. Coaching is really important. It's just not as important as talent.
Yeah. Kevin from Union City asking if Daniel Brunskill is still on the team. We can confirm that Daniel Brunskill is in fact still on the team.
Yeah, he's still on the team, and I would say at this point, I would put him third. Based on what I've seen, I think he's third behind Charles and Radens. And Brunskill, part of a bad offensive line last year. I think he's fine.
Yeah, like he was. I didn't think that he was certainly not the standout issue on the offensive line last year.
Exactly. So there's some depth in some of their spots. There's some depth. Like at guard, they have pretty good depth. At tackle, I don't know. A lot of guys. I just don't know how many guys they'd feel good putting out on a Sunday.
Have the Titans begun to rectify their bad drafting problems the last couple of years under Rand Carthon? We'll take your thoughts on that. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning. Corey Curtis from News 2 will be with us at 8 o'clock for his weekly visit. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. Right now, talking Titans. Throwing it out there, are the Titans starting to draft better under Rand Carthon? They had some big problems in the draft, which ultimately was a big reason why John Robinson was fired and is no longer the general manager of the team. Is that starting to shift? Joey brought up Peter Skoronski. What do you make of how he looks in camp, the way that he has played from your vantage point, and the importance of him taking a big step forward this year in year 2 with hopefully some better conditions around him on the offensive line?
Yeah, I think he looks pretty good. I guess there's maybe a little bit of a suffer by comparison sometimes because Latham at times looks so good. TD had I didn't see this, but TD had in his, I like TD's takeaways that he does after every day on X. And he had one where Skoronski stifled a Simmons rush. And look, Skoronski did that sometimes last camp too, by the way. So I think he's on course to have a good season and for again, center to left tackle to be pretty good for the Titans, which makes it a better, potentially quite a bit better line than last year. It's just, I think the question really is, so are you going to be okay on the right side? Can you be okay on the right side? But Skoronski, yeah, I think he's in good shape, stronger. I think he's a good player.
They need him to be great this year. And so much attention is going to go to left tackle. I get it. I mean, that's the most important position on the line. So we've talked about that, but they need Skoronski to be really good. And honestly, from him specifically, I don't really know how to judge last year. Like the conditions around him were so bad, and the left tackle position specifically was so bad that it's really hard to know like how good or bad Skoronski was individually last year, because that left side was just getting caved in all the time because Andre Dillard was your starting left tackle. And then when Andre Dillard wasn't your starting left tackle, like Jalen Duncan was thrown out there. I mean, just wasn't good. Wasn't a good situation a year ago. So, but I think we would all agree, like, they do need Skoronski to take a significant step forward. He's clearly tried to get bigger this offseason, and we'll see what that looks like and pays off on the field. But like obviously everybody's going to focus on Latham. Everybody's going to focus on the right side, but they need Skoronski to take a pretty big step forward in year 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And not a lot of help. And he's talked about it. He lost a lot of weight. It wasn't just the appendectomy and like recovering from that, which I'm sure isn't fun, but the weight loss that resulted from that. It's already hard for a lot of guys to keep weight up during the season. Yep. You want to get to a certain point, then you're trying to maintain it. So he lost quite a bit there, lost some strength, and then he's on a bad offensive line. So I think you're right. Where he's drafted, he needs to be great. Is he going to be great? I don't know. It's also right now we're in a situation where we're not really seeing, they've had some full pads days. So we're seeing a little bit of it, but we're not really seeing the Titans run the football.
Right.
And that's where I do feel like they could have some pretty good combinations over there running the ball on the left side as well. And I think that's where he can be really effective. But yeah, on his own at times, it's just as simple as, can you keep that guy out of the backfield? Your pass protection has to be solid over there. There was a good rep between those two guys. I think it was Landry. It might have been Key, but it was a team period and a drop back from Levis and a good job of Latham handling, like an outside rush and then a spin inside. Skoronski was there to wall it off. And that's exactly the kind of chemistry you're hoping to see. So that's what you're hoping to see a lot of.
Glenn from Laverne says, at least the Titans didn't draft an injured player. Woof. Just from Glenn on the text line. There's a lot of that. Remember when we used to go through like our pre-draft exercise? I think it was 2022, and we'd have people calling in. They're like, just find the guy who's the most hurt, and that's the one J-Rob will take. It's like, I think we're getting a little overboard with that stuff, but they have drafted some injured players. There's no doubt.
Like whenever somebody would get hurt in college and would have a meme with like J-Rob, like that guy by the
just
tree.
rubbing his
Yeah.
hands together. Yes. Bring me
Uh,
the injured player.
poor J-Rob. Between J-Rob and Vrabel, it's like, how did they ever win a football game? They did nothing good. It's amazing.
I mean, Rand drafted a guy without an ACL last year. Drafted Tajay Spears.
That is true. But see, if you don't have one, you
Can't hurt it.
Yeah, that's right. You can't tear it. Matt hopped down. What is Leo Matt? What does that mean, Leo Matt?
I don't know.
But anyway, thanks, Matt. Have a great day. I thought he had a question, and I realized that it was just a have a great show.
Oh, it's his new handle. Previous text. Just look up the previous text.
Matt the Leo?
Yeah. New handle.
Is that like you're like I'm a Capricorn, you're a Leo?
I don't know.
Is that the idea?
We'll have to get clarification.
Okay.
I don't know. The Levis part of this, obviously. Like what happens if like Skoronski turns out to be a great player? Spears is a great back for them for the next 4 or 5 years. Wiley turns out to be a pretty good starting tight end, but then just Levis is not very good. Like how do you view that draft as a whole? Is it just
Blame
totally,
Vrabel.
totally gone? Because
There'll be a bunch of people talking about, guys, it was really Vrabel.
Vrabel
wanted
ruined
Levis.
him.
Yeah, Vrabel wanted him. Nobody else actually wanted Levis. It was Vrabel. Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. He is the defining player, of course, of the team and of that draft class, and I guess really like Rand Carthon's era. That's where it's whenever you have the GM coach different timelines, it's interesting too because obviously Callahan inherits Levis, liked Levis, has talked about how it was part of his decision making, but yeah, Levis is still. And look, if he is good, if he is what they want, then you can say whatever you want about how they could have taken him earlier, but the bottom line is you got him in the second round.
It's true.
Pretty good.
Yeah. The distinguished gentleman on YouTube, those people who said Sweat was a reach might want to come to the front of the congregation. It's confession time. This from the distinguished gentleman.
So now we got Jared from Spring Hill saying, everything stinks. You calm down. And I'm gonna push the brakes on you there, distinguished gentleman. I don't think it's time for anybody to apologize. First of all, the reach thing has to do with, of course, maturity off the field and things like that. And there was a pretty glaring example of lack of maturity during the draft process. So, I mean, let's see how the whole season goes. Let's see how year 2 and 3, we don't know the outcome there. He does look really good. He's tremendously talented. I go back to his comments on draft night. Keep it, what did he say, under 350?
Yeah.
Keep it under 350. He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, I might have to agree with him, but I don't know that he will, It's not, again, he's not in like amazing shape right now. He's still doing these things. So it's still, I just pump the brakes on that. No one needs to apologize yet. Okay. We're all still in the discovery phase.
Don't have to approach the front of the congregation.
Yeah.
Just stay seated.
Yeah.
I got a texter. By the way, if the Titans put out a pretty cool video yesterday of T'Vondre Sweat buying his mom a house. It was pretty cool.
That
stuff.
is awesome.
This is good stuff.
Yeah.
If you missed that, go check it out. Chris on the text line. Will we see the starters on Saturday in the preseason game?
Yeah, I think yes. I think some. It's going to be interesting. I think we'll probably get a little more clarity on it this week. They've got. I think they're off today. The next 2 days, there's no media. I know that. And then it's like Wednesday and Thursday back to like the full practice thing as they get ready for the game. So I think Brian Callahan may shed some light. He talked a little bit about it, and I kind of came away thinking yesterday. He talked a little bit about it that maybe they wouldn't play a ton. But I think you will see them some. And I think between these 3 preseason games, I think definitely maybe.
Yeah.
You'll see more participation than there was under Vrabel. So one more reason to rip Vrabel. Until one of them gets hurt.
I know.
And then you get mad at Brian Callahan.
I wonder if it's going to be like selective. Does Calvin Ridley really need to play in the preseason? I don't know. I'm just throwing the question out there.
Yeah, there'll be a few guys. I agree with you. There'll be a few guys that, like a guy like Simmons,
right? Does he really need to play in the preseason?
Like I never thought Vrabel should play Simmons in the preseason, and then he hasn't. And so I'm with you, but I do think that offensive line for sure because it's a 5-man. It isn't just all 5 individuals blocking their man. It's a 5-man group that has to really work together, I think that's where you might see the most.
How long
Or
we see
should
Levis?
the most.
I mean, I guess he's going to get out there.
Yeah, I
A
mean,
series or two, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe more than that at some point. But that's the thing too. It's like, but I said earlier, I misspoke. I said earlier I thought maybe the second preseason game might have the most. No, actually, that is the one, and Callahan has said that because they're getting those practices, that would be the least.
The least, probably, yeah.
So it might actually be the last preseason game, which I know a lot of times is like it used to be the throwaway game, but now it's so far before the season and stuff. I think maybe it's still used as a third preseason game like it was back when there were 4, if that makes sense.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll take more of your thoughts on the Titans. We'll get back into that coming up a little bit later in the program. I got some things to say about the Titans and Titans fans at 7:45.
I'm here for it.
We'll get into that coming up a little bit later this hour. Coming up next, is Josh Heupel becoming the best recruiter of quarterbacks in the United States of America? We'll ask that question and answer it next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So some very good news for the Tennessee Vols on the recruiting front over the weekend. We've talked about the 2025 class, making a lot of progress there. Depending on which publication you look at, they're either in the top 5 or the top 10. So good stuff going on for Tennessee in the 2025 class. And over the weekend, Faison Brandon, who is the number 1 player in America for the 2026 class, quarterback, verbally committed to Tennessee. So you have another 5-star quarterback that is now committed to Tennessee, which means if you look ahead at the future of their room, obviously you have Nico Iamaleava as the presumptive starting quarterback the next 2 years, who is a 5-star quarterback. Jake Merklinger, who's going to be the backup this year, 4-star. George McIntyre coming in next year, who is also a 4-star, and some publications is a 5. And now you have the number 1 player in America in 2026 as a 5-star, Faison Brandon. So the quarterback room moving forward here for Tennessee is going to be absolutely loaded. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see how all that plays out, and do all of them stay? Do some of them go?
Yes.
Like, what does that look like at that point? But pretty clearly, Josh Heupel is having an incredible amount of success at recruiting the quarterback position, to the point where people are asking the question, is he the best recruiter of quarterbacks in America right now when you think about some of the guys that he's landing? What do you make of Faison Brandon committing to Tennessee, the number 1 player in America for 2026? What does that mean for this program? And what do you make right now of this staff's ability to recruit and attract high-level quarterbacks to Knoxville, Tennessee?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, this was the guy, like Alabama and LSU, this was their top priority guy. You know, sometimes rankings are what they are and they can change, and it's, you know, especially if they vary, you know, sometimes you keep that in mind. You know, 24/7 has the top player, not just quarterback, top player. And 24/7, man, they're as reliable as any service.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes they differ. I look at is who else wanted this player, and like, was it really like they were top priority? I mean, by all accounts, Alabama and LSU, like, this is a guy that they wanted to be their quarterback of the future, and Tennessee got him. So that's quite a statement. We've talked about quarterback recruiting for the Vols and the criticisms of the offense and the NFL preparation that this offense does or doesn't provide. And at this point, again, I still think it would be good for them to have a guy become a starter in the league and quiet all the stuff about, you know, it doesn't prepare you, or, you know, there's too big of a learning curve because of the different things they do. Not slowing him down right now. That's for sure. And this is just a big time. You know, again, this is a young kid, you know, 6'4", 200, Greensboro, North Carolina. He can't sign until December of 2025.
Yep.
So, like, I mean, and verbal commitments in college football today are like, I got a buddy, Graham Couch, columnist, Atlanta State Journal, is like, we got to get rid of the word commitment, like, call it something else, you know. But hey, the bottom line is this is a recruiting season. This is when commitments happen. This is how classes are ranked. And he just obviously is like, quarterbacks are looking at this offense and everything, and they're loving it, and they want to come here. So again, I guess if if Nico doesn't turn out to be like an NFL quarterback or something like that, at some point maybe it catches up with you. But right now they're on an incredible, beyond this, they're on an overall heater of heaters.
They're recruiting really well. Like, that was one of the biggest questions we had about Heupel and his staff was, all right, can you recruit at a high level in the SEC? Now, obviously, the landscape since he was hired has changed pretty dramatically with the NIL stuff and all that stuff. And there's no doubt that that's part of this. You know, we played some Josh Pate comments last week. Like, it's not just about writing a check and throwing it at somebody and saying, all right, come here. I mean, everybody, when you're recruiting some of these guys, they've got money. Like,
yeah. Alabama, LSU, and Tennessee were probably going to pay him the same amount.
Right. Like, they've all got money. So it comes down to your process, your plan, your strategy, your offense, like all the traditional stuff that we've talked about. And clearly, quarterbacks are connecting really well with this staff right now. Now, as you said, they're not going to keep all these guys. Like, first of all, when Nico's going to be the starter this year and next year, and then I would assume at least one of Merklinger, McIntyre, and if Brandon stays committed, one of those guys is going to be gone. So, I would assume that if they were ranking a priority list, Brandon would be at the top of that, given where he's ranked right now. But they're not going to keep all those guys in the quarterback room. But all of those guys are high-level quarterbacks that have committed to them, which tells me that they're going to be able to commit to recruit and develop that position really well moving forward, which is what you need to win in college football. So if you're a Tennessee fan looking at this with all the quarterbacks coming in, you're like, all right, that makes you feel pretty good about the future of the program beyond just the Nico stuff with their ability to recruit the quarterback position.
Yeah. And one thing that happens with this is, so Faison is the 5-star, and so people are making assumptions about him. And remember, Harrison Bailey was a 5-star too,
Yep.
And so because of that, even as things kind of unfolded, it was clearly like he just wasn't one of the best. He shouldn't have been. People still clung to the fact that he was 5-star. And so, look, Merklinger or McIntyre, one of them could end up being the number 1 pick in the draft. You don't know.
I have no idea.
These rankings matter. And overall, collectively, there's a correlation between them and success, but also on an individual basis. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with these guys and how they're going to work in the next year and 2 and 3 years and all that stuff. But they do have options. Yes, the quarterback rooms. I mean, even before all this stuff, quarterback rooms, basically it's just sound like they're going to compete. And then whoever is like QB3 is certainly better.
Yeah.
The thing is now a lot of times it's like QB2 is like, well, I can be QB1 over here, and they got a sweet check for me.
Yep.
So that makes it even tougher to keep a quarterback room together. But you can't really ask for much more on the recruiting front. We had this, you were out there, right? We were talking about this, about Tennessee's recruiting and NIL and how it helped them. And I think for sure it has helped. Like early on, they had the collective functioning before a lot of schools did. We know that like Alabama was freaking out for a minute, but they got it together. So early on, I think there was some, like in the Nico recruitment, I think there was some benefit to Tennessee that they were jumped all over the new rules. But again, the top programs have caught up because you have to catch up. So I think I look now at anything Heupel's doing in recruiting, and I don't look at it like they have some collective edge. Like Josh Pate mentioned that maybe the way they structure it, that they've done a really good job, but like they don't have a big like financial edge to me over Bama, LSU, USC, Ohio State, whatever it is. Heupel has really proved himself as a recruiter. It also goes to show you, well, we're judging him, and we certainly did at UCF on like the recruiting going down and stuff. You just don't know until someone gets like a Tennessee on their shirt what's going to happen. A Tennessee and Ohio State, that's just a different level. Some people aren't as good at it. Obviously, he has taken it and run with it.
Well, and I think he's answered a lot of questions on that front. And it would be one thing if it was just quarterback. Quarterback obviously is the most important thing. And you've got to, if you can recruit well there, you're going to give yourself a shot. But we talked about this. 2025, yes, George McIntyre is a part of that class, and he's a big reason that it's ranked as high as it is. But they've got edge rushers, they've got corners, they've got pretty much anything you can think of in 2025 coming as well. So like they're recruiting really well, basically all over the map. The one area you'd like to see them, I think, recruit a little bit better is definitely on the offensive line, which we brought up David Sanders last week, who's a 5-star offensive lineman who they're heavily in the mix for. So we'll see if they land him in 2025. You're going to see that ranking shoot up even more for Josh Heupel and company.
Yeah, that's that position. And there's options in the secondary. And by the way, I think Jordan Thomas been reported this weekend a season-ending injury in the secondary. So they've already got bad news for this year's team. But secondary offensive line, that's but they've recruited prominent guys in the secondary. It's just a matter of that materializing. They've missed on some offensive linemen. Seaton went to Colorado. But yeah, up and down the board. Right now, 24/7 has them 7th and 25. They got 21 commits all over the map. And again, we've talked about like their defensive recruiting pretty strong.
Bond Welch on Twitter. I asked the question, is Heupel becoming the best recruiter of QBs in America? He says, not yet. Let's see Nico play an SEC schedule first. It's fair.
Okay. Yeah. As a recruit, Nico is elite. As a recruit, Faison is elite. But Yeah, there's also the evaluation and then what actually ends up happening on the field. So that's fine.
Look, it's hard for me to, based on the ability he has, it's hard for me to get to Nico not at least being really good. Is he going to be great? Is he going to be elite? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see that. But like the talent's pretty evident. Like it would be pretty surprising if he's not at least really good.
Yes,
That's my read on it. Anyway,
I'll be really surprised if he's not a good player in the SEC this year.
Oh, and by the way, the reports out of camp from him so far, he looks pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's going to be
not
fun.
necessarily surprising. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Your thoughts on Tennessee landing the #1 player in America for 2026 in Faison Brandon, and your thoughts on Josh Heupel as a recruiter, specifically at the quarterback position. I got a lot of those to get to next. We'll do that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. The Game Summer Ticket Tour presented by Green River Whiskey has just one more tour stop left. Join Joe Dubin at Fog Street Lawn Club at 648 Fog Street this Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. We'll have your chance to win free tickets to upcoming concerts in Nashville, including Weezer, Train, Dierks Bentley, and more. Also get signed up for the grand prize tickets to a Preds home game, Sounds game, and to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We'll have the Rob Rant coming up at 7:45. Corey Curtis from News 2 will be with us at 8 o'clock. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. Vols got a verbal commitment from Faison Brandon over the weekend, the number one player in the country, number one quarterback for 2026. Josh Heupel recruiting the quarterback position very well right now. Taking your thoughts on that, 615-737-1025, and on the YouTube chat as well. It's going to be interesting to see, we talked about this last year with the Milton and Nico dynamic of having some actual depth built up at the quarterback position. And I thought it was interesting. I mean, you were with Nico last week, and he talked about how that was basically kind of always in his mind, the plan of sitting the first year behind Milton. And then from year two, the reins are handed over to him and it's his time to go. Like clearly, at least from what he said anyway, there was no consternation over the fact he wasn't playing last year. I'm sure some guys are like that. Some guys are not and want to play immediately. I'm interested to see with what I think 24/7 Sports has now dubbed the embarrassment of riches at the quarterback position for the Vols, how Heupel kind of manages all that and how he and his staff kind of massage those egos along, trying to keep them for as long as possible.
Yeah. I think I do feel like college head coaches are kind of resigned to, look, you have to draft, except you get the number one pick all the time.
That
If
is
you're,
true.
or something close to it if you're one of the top programs. And that's the thing. Tennessee right now, from a recruiting perspective, they're kind of consistently in a neighborhood that, they haven't been too far from it for too long ever. Pruitt got it rolling too. Butch had some big time classes, but they're in that neighborhood again consistently. And that you have to recruit a good quarterback every year. You should be able to. And then, it really is. It's just like remember Taven Jackson? It's like, a lot of excitement, but it's just like, well, it's like basically a competition, a sub competition of who's going to be moving on. And it's usually pretty fast. So I think like with Nico, I'm sure it was easier to sell him on that. Like I never got any sense that he had any other plan. And I think his family wanted that plan, but it's probably a lot easier to sell when you see Bryce Young and CJ Stroud both have that year and then come in year two gangbusters and then year three off to the NFL. That's a perfect plan. So I'm sure that's the plan for them too. And we'll see if it works out on the back end, but I think the front end, it was easy to sell it. So now, big benefit for the guy who's there, Merklinger or Jur.
I think
Merklinger. Yeah, I think that's right. So he gets to, he's QB2, at this point. Now, actually, would he go in? If Nico got hurt,
they're gonna throw Gaston Moore in there?
I think it could be Gaston Moore. Gaston Moore is a veteran who knows the offense inside. I think he'd be okay. But regardless, Jake gets to learn, have that year, and then McIntyre's going to come in. I don't know. I assume he's going to be an early enrollee. Of course, he's going to have a big season this year for BA.
Yep.
And then like the spring, if that's the case, if he's early enrollee, a lot of times they try to get that to happen for these guys. Then the competition begins between those two. And then, they both have that time. But even before one of them is up, one of them might already know. It's like, okay, I'm out. Because that Faison's coming in after that.
Well, and you also know that this year and next year, as long as he's healthy, Nico is the starting quarterback. So it's not like there's a quarterback competition heading into next year in terms of who the starter is going to be.
It's a QB2 competition.
It's a QB2 competition. So, not that that's like some shocking news. They knew that when they committed to Tennessee. Like they knew the timeline for Nico. But still, like you're going to have to navigate all that if you're Heupel. It's going to be – it's a great problem to have. Like when you're trying to sort through your laundry list of talented quarterbacks that you've now recruited and figure out roles for all of them and determine who's going to stay and who's going to go at some point. that's a good problem to have if you're Josh Heupel.
It is
It's better than not having any quarterbacks to choose from at all.
Yeah, that's a good problem. And Faison, speaking of the Nico plan, is Faison committing to Tennessee if he thinks there's a chance Nico's quarterbacking in 2026? I mean, maybe he likes the same idea. Maybe. But I'm sure his thought process, I think the general thought process at Knoxville is Nico's going to be off to the NFL.
2 years. Yep.
And so then here you go. You could potentially be a freshman starter, even though the 1 year waiting period has been effective.
It has been effective. And I wonder if there's, because of the examples you brought up, and there's plenty of examples to choose from, but I wonder if there's more patience for that from some of these quarterbacks when you see the way that it's gone for some of these guys, right? Like, Bryce Young is a great example. Like, could he have played his freshman year? Yeah, probably. He probably could have. He probably would have been pretty good. But you sit the 1 year, you play 2 years of really high-level college football, and then you're right off to the NFL.
Yeah, how many true freshman quarterbacks have been great in college football? Trevor Lawrence ended up taking over the job, but that wasn't even the plan his first year. And obviously he was very good.
Yeah.
Tua had a little time first. I mean, for the most part, for the most part,
Peyton got in there.
Peyton did get in there.
Yeah.
Peyton did get
that
in
also
there.
wasn't
That
the plan.
wasn't the plan,
Yeah.
but it happened. That's going way back. It just, that year seems really important for at a lot of positions in college football. I think other than, like corner and receiver, you see a lot more. Maybe running back, you come right in, and if you're that talented, then. But almost everybody needs the weight room year anyway.
That's the thing. Like, I think, and we're going to see, how it pays off for Nico. But Nico came in from high school at 190 pounds, and now he's at 215. So you're talking pretty substantial amount of weight that he's put on there, and he's trying to get to 220. So you're talking about 30 pounds of weight that he will have put on if he gets to 220 at that point, which I think is important if you're going to try to make it through a season of taking SEC hits all the time.
Yeah, and he's going to get hit. This offense at times, it's just you got 4 guys out every time. I mean, you're going to take some hits. Even Hendon Hooker with a really good offensive line took a lot of hits 2 years ago.
I'm interested early in the year to see how much they actively try to run him. Like, I remember, I think Tennessee was playing Akron or somebody like that in 2022. And they ran a speed option with Hendon Hooker, and he just got absolutely annihilated. And I was like, what are you doing running Hendon Hooker against Akron? Just turn around, hand the ball off, or throw it down the field and take care of business that way. Like, I think they are going to be and should be very selective about when they run the ball with Nico this year.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think you'll see. I think he'll have some big-time plays. Shoot, he ran for 3 touchdowns and the one full game he's played against Iowa, but I think that'll be his improvisation mostly.
Yep. That's a pretty good time to be a Tennessee fan heading into this year. Now, we talk about all the positive momentum. I think now it's on Heupel and the staff to follow it up with a good year, right? Because if you go 7-5 this year, you're probably going to lose some of that momentum on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, you might
got to win.
Lose some of those guys. I mean, that's guys want to they want to get paid, of course, and they will get paid if you're that level of player. And they want to get developed for the NFL. I mean, that's huge. But they want to play for championships.
Yep.
I mean, they want to be in the biggest games. And those are the one game. That's the one way you'll have a guy like play in your postseason game is if you're in the biggest game. There's more of them now, thankfully. Good thing for college football.
Yes.
Good thing for all of us. Positive in America this year. I mean, I really I know you didn't like this, but are you not excited to see how it's going to play out?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of cool.
I mean, on the surface, I hate it, but I said it at the time. Like, is it going to make me not watch? No. Like, I'm all in now. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. So,
exactly.
when Tennessee sneaks in for the that 12th spot or whatever, be like, thank God, 12-team playoff, wanted it the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, they have a real chance, and I don't think this team's a 4-team playoff team, but I think this team might be a 12-team playoff team.
We'll see how it goes. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. Coming up next, it's time for the Rob Rant. Check it out every morning here on the program, either the Rob Rant or the Rex Rant. We'll do that next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Hey, Robbie Stanley here. Make sure you select Twin Peaks for your fantasy football draft party this season. Stay cool under pressure with 29-degree draft beers, bites for the whole team, plus a $50 bonus card for the commish, and an additional $5 bonus card for every drafter as well. Call to book your draft party at the Twin Peaks in Cool Springs or Madison locations. Visit twinpeaks.com/fantasy draft for more information. That's twinpeaks.com/fantasy draft.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
Willis keeps it himself. Breaks a tackle. Willis spinning his way. Still going. Touchdown! Malik Willis. His first NFL touchdown.
You know, it's hard to elevate Malik and demote Mason when Mason's played very, very good football too. So it's a good problem to have, to say that Malik will play the twos at some point. Yeah, I think that's, just a chance for him to showcase his skills as well. I'm sure that's something that'll be he'll get a chance at.
It is time for the Rob Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. You can check it out every morning, either the Rob Rant or the Rex Rant. And Joe, it's pretty simple today. I'm excited to watch Malik Willis play some football in the preseason. And I see all these reports coming out from camp. And, we were out there last week watching. Koharski, I think, has made it a point to watch Malik Willis pretty closely in camp to this point. And by all accounts, he's playing well. He's making good decisions with the football. It's not been perfect from him, obviously, but he's doing good things. He's made some plays in camp. And I understand that it's not coming against the starters, so there is a bit of a grain of salt that you got to take it. But anytime that anybody says anything positive about Malik Willis on social media, there seems to always be like this avalanche of, oh, who cares? Malik sucks. They need to cut Malik. And I'm like, guys, we can adjust our expectations a little bit. Like I'm not interested in watching Malik Willis play with the expectation that one day he's going to be the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. But am I excited to watch him play, to see how much progress he's made, and with the new coaching staff to see if he can turn into an actual viable option as a backup quarterback for them or somebody else in the league? Yes, I am. And I understand Malik Willis, what we've seen from him on the field to this point, has not been very good. Now, in his defense, he had no business ever being on the field his first year. And I think the Titans did not only him, but themselves a pretty big disservice when they had him as the backup quarterback in his rookie season. We talked about it at the time. There was no way that he should have been the backup quarterback his rookie year. They should have gone with somebody else that was a more veteran option, but they didn't, and they forced him to be out on the field way earlier than he should have been, and we saw what it was. He was nowhere near ready to be playing an NFL football game, and it was what it was. Does that mean that that's always going to be what he is at the NFL level? No. By all accounts, he seems to have made some good progress this offseason. So again, I have no expectation that Malik Willis is going to be some starting quarterback in the league. But am I rooting for the guy who, by the way, has done nothing but everything they've asked him to do since he's been here? Like, he's not been a problem at all, been a great teammate, seems to put in the work. Like, he's done everything you wanted to do. Am I rooting for the guy to come in the preseason and play well and eventually get himself to a spot where he can maybe be a backup quarterback in the league? Yes, I am. And I don't know why that's such a controversial take for Titans fans to have. No, we don't want to see Malik Willis on the field in a meaningful NFL game this season. That's probably not good news for the Titans. But yes, I'm excited to watch him play in the preseason, and I hope he does well.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, it's like we were talking earlier about whoever the 5-star recruit is at quarterback, people like are automatically going to like gravitate toward them, right? So, Malik has obviously proven to be a disappointment as a 3rd-round pick. And look, there were people like, oh, watch out, Tannehill. It was all, who knows?
It was taken way too far. Yeah.
Yeah. But he was one of the top quarterbacks taking that draft. The fact that he was a 3rd-rounder tells you what the quarterback draft was. But I think what people have to remember is like this part of the year, depth is so critical in this game. The attrition rate is so high. The injury rate is, as Vrabel like to say, 100%. So these preseason games are like, do you have quality backups? Right? Do you have quality reserves? And I feel like at a lot of other positions, like, oh yeah, Brownlee, that guy, if he needed to play, okay, great. A Jalen Harrell or whatever on the offensive line. Is there a 3rd tight end emerging? But when it's quarterback, it's like either, if he's a starter or he sucks, get him out of here.
Yeah.
No. He's worked hard. He's gotten better. And I'm very interested to see it too. Malik Willis's quest is to, like, his personal quest is to establish himself as a guy who can be probably a QB2 in this league for a long time, which is a great life.
Yeah.
That's
maybe the best job in sports.
Yeah. So, that's the reality for him. But yeah, people get so mad, and I don't understand why. But I think that's why. I think it's because it's like you have these inflated expectations, and then if it doesn't work out like that, then you just want to discard somebody.
Well, and I don't even know if there's a realistic path to him being the Titans' backup this year. Like Mason Rudolph. Callahan spoke on this yesterday. He's been impressed with what he's seen from Rudolph. And the bottom line is we have actual evidence of Mason Rudolph coming in real-life NFL games and playing well and winning. So I don't know that there's really anything Malik Willis can do in the preseason where he's just going to jump past Mason Rudolph on the depth chart. But again, like, wouldn't it be great if you're Brian Callahan and you get to the end of the preseason and you say, you know what? I feel pretty good about Mason Rudolph being the backup. And if it got really bad and we had to play our 3rd quarterback, I feel okay about playing Malik Willis. Like, that's a good problem to have if you're the Titans.
Exactly.
And I think every Titans fan should want that. Like, you should want to have as much depth as possible behind your quarterback.
No doubt, and at not a very high cost. So, yeah, I mean, right now, I think Malik Willis will. I think he'll be on this team. It's funny, we're saying this. I thought yesterday that there was like Rudolph was better than Willis yesterday, just as it so happens. I've thought at times, Rudolph has been a little erratic. I think he's really starting to catch fire a little bit. But Callahan made a good point. It's like if you do that with Malik, because it's a fair question. Like, are you going to give him some more? You give him a chance with the twos. But he's like, that is a demotion for the guy you wrote in to be QB2. But I'm sure they'll mix it in some. But the preseason games are going to be where it's, where it's really it'll be a little bit of mix and match, I'm sure. And obviously they're both going to play a lot. But yeah, Malik Willis, I think he'll be on this team. And that's a good thing because emergency guy, unless it's a starting job.
It's also two separate conversations too. Like I would still agree with you that if you're a Titans fan that says, well, if Malik Willis plays this year, that's not good. Yeah. I agree. Obviously that means either Levis is hurt or things have gone really poorly and Rudolph's hurt and you're in a complete train wreck as an offense at that point. So I would agree. Like I don't want to see Malik Willis on the field once the regular season comes around. But that doesn't mean that you can't also root for him to do well in the action he's going to get in the preseason and hopefully start to see some continued development and progress there where maybe next year you look at him and say, yeah, that's our backup quarterback right there, Malik Willis. He's made enough progress where we feel good at that being the case.
Yeah. And look, it's a third offense in 3 years. I mean, I know this is a return here to his rookie year to some extent, but he's changed QB coaches and OCs and now head coaches and things like that. And yeah, I think he's been pretty consistent in terms of just trying to get better. And he has absolutely gotten better. I don't know how it's going to translate, but I think preseason football this year, and there's other teams too, of course, because I'm watching every Joe Milton snap I can watch.
Of course.
You know that. But that's where probably some of the most interesting stuff comes is from these backup quarterbacks. Malik Willis he's gotten better. I feel a lot better now about his chances of hanging in the league, being in the league than I did, before this preseason.
Well, we've talked about obviously the most important relationship and dynamic with the coaching staff and quarterbacks is going to be Callahan to Levis. We all understand that. But I mean, it's got to be, if you feel like Levis is in good hands with Callahan, I mean, that would also probably be pretty good news for Malik Willis as well to continue to hone in on his skills with Callahan at the helm and the work he's done with quarterbacks.
Yeah. And so maybe how much of the improvement that is definitely out there on the practice field, how much of that is about that? I'm sure some.
Yeah.
But I also think it's his own work. I mean, some of it is just, it's like that clock in your head and the ability to quickly go through reads. Obviously, he got stuck. That's what he gets stuck, and it's like, read one, okay, I'm bailing out. Right? That's been his big problem. And while also, by the way, playing behind trash offensive lines. And I think he's really worked on, okay, read one, okay, get to that next one first. Try to go through the progressions, then bail out. But we'll see it, in the preseason games. We'll see it when guys are tackling you to the ground if that plays out that way.
Corey Curtis from News 2 will join us next. We'll get his thoughts on all things Titans. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning. And as we do every Monday morning at 8 o'clock, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our friend Corey Curtis from News 2 to the program. Corey Curtis, good morning. How are you? How are we doing?
I'm a man of the people. I'm wonderful.
Good. That is good. You are a man of the people.
No doubt.
Hair of the
That's
people.
what I was told. So I'm here to represent all of you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. Quandre Diggs signed by the Tennessee Titans, 1 year, up to $5 million. So that's pretty busy offseason for the secondary. Diggs, Adams coming in at safety, obviously Owuzie and Snead coming in at the corner position. What do you make of the revamped secondary now with Diggs as the latest piece of it?
Well, I mean, it's obviously good experience. You know, a guy with 24 career interceptions, knows how to make plays on the football. I believe he has not missed a game in the last 4 years, which should be very appealing to this team. The terms of the contract, all look favorable. But, as with a number of these moves, this is a patchwork move. It's a 1-year deal on an older player, until they can get some younger players to fill these spots. But they needed a veteran to kind of lock that spot down. So I think it was a need. I think they were patient again and got the deal they wanted, and we'll see how it works out.
So would you guess then Diggs next to Hooker, Molden becomes third safety, and then sort of Adams continues to be sort of the movable chess piece kind of guy?
Well, if they can get Adams on the field, yeah. I mean, that's the first battle. Have any of us seen him in a while?
It's been a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time I saw him was at Nissan Stadium. So, yeah, I mean, I think Adams is like a specialty piece, but those other two guys, absolutely. I mean, Molden is a much better tackler than Diggs is, and so I think he gives you a better support in the run game and probably a better open field tackler.
What do you make of corner? Obviously Owuzie's out, so he's missing snaps in camp. Snead's on his plan. So, I mean, two of your top guys at corner, you're just not seeing a ton of them on the field in camp so far. I've been really impressed with Brownlee and what he's done out there. What do you make of the depth kind of behind those guys at corner?
Well, Brownlee is a guy that I loved going into the draft. I remember, we had Teron on our draft show, and I was like, gosh, do you think Brownlee, they can get him in the 4th round? And he was like, I don't know. And they got him in the 5th. So I thought that pick was an absolute steal for them. He plays with, all sorts of attitude, which you like to see at that position. And, you got to be a goldfish and have that short memory. And he seems to have that. So I think he's an exciting young guy to watch. And I think Judy Lally continues to look like a guy who's going to be a threat to make the roster. But we've seen a lot of guys come off the street and play that position for this team. And I think they had 6-7 interceptions last year. So there's a reason they paid to get those other guys on the team, and they need those guys to be healthy. I think the coaching staff's attitude of what they want is wearing on some of these guys, where they're aggressive and it's feisty and that's good. And these are good reps for these younger guys who are being thrust into the one position because the starters are out. So, I mean, like I'm not doing cartwheels, but I'm excited about what Brownlee can be. And I think Judy Lally is continues to be a nice surprise, but it's like we say with a lot of guys, let's see him in a game and let's see what happens.
No, I'm with you on Brownlee. It is watching him daily. It's like, man, 5th rounder, really? 5th rounder.
Yeah, he's every bit of Miami. I know he went to Louisville, but he's from Miami, and he reeks of Miami.
And that is a compliment, by the way.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Sticking with that side of the ball, Corey, which to me is just the more encouraging side of the ball right now. T'Vondre Sweat, I'm also very impressed with him. And actually, it's funny because 2nd round pick, 38. a lot of people said that's a reach. Wow, that's really high. I actually think we could be talking about it being a steal. I mean, I'm got to keep an open mind. We'll see what happens week after week and how many snaps and all that stuff. But what are you seeing from him? I just feel like he's blowing people up right now.
Well, I think we're seeing why they were so giddy to get him. I mean, I'm impressed with how quickly he's playing himself into shape. He's on the field. The helmet isn't coming up all the time like it did in the first practice. And I watch him not for the first snap, but for the second, the third, and the fourth. And he continues to explode off the ball. And I was there Sunday and I watched him push Cushenberry 5 yards deep into the backfield. And you're just like, wow. I mean, because Cushenberry's a big, strong guy. And, if he can be that, he's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. And often we talk about, guys with where they're drafted well, like Peter Skoronski. Peter Skoronski, for where he was drafted, needs to be a dominant player. I think we all agree on that. I think Peter would agree on that. Peter wants to be a dominant player regardless of where he was drafted. Well, right now, if you told me Sweat was the 20th pick of the draft, I'd be like, all right, because he's massive and he's impressive. And, I know he had the misstep before the draft, but he has not been a distraction for this team at all through training camp.
Corey, obviously, not ideal for Hopkins to be out the rest of training camp, but we'll see what that means for him in terms of game action. But I still feel good about Hopkins and Levis once the games come and he's back on the field and that connection and all that stuff. What have you made of the other receivers to this point? What stands out to you about the receiving core throughout practice and training camp to this point?
Well, I think that's the group where, the depth is better than we've seen in a really long time. Now they've got to stay on the field and they've got to do it in games. That's once again where we're back. Can they do it in games? Because, look, it's not just us talking about Treylon Burks. It's the team. Yesterday, L'Jarius Sneed brought him up without anybody even asking about him. And, Treylon Burks looks great. And you want to see what he's going to do in games because, what you're seeing on the practice field is good. The attitude is good. The fitness is good. The routes are good. The finish is good. Now can he take it into the games, stay healthy, and build on the confidence? NWI continues to be NWI. He's very safe, very reliable. Although yesterday he told me he does make mistakes, regardless of what Brian Callahan says, that he never makes mistakes. But I don't want to take the cheese. I really don't. But you watch Kyle Phillips, and he gets open and he catches everything. Now he gets blown up. But he's looked really good. And I know Mason Kinsey had a day yesterday.
I was going to say, you better bring up Mason Kinsey too then.
These guys are making plays, but then you're like, when are they ever going to get on the field? I mean, realistically, are you going to take out Tyler Boyd? Are you going to take out DeAndre Hopkins? Are you going to take out Calvin Ridley? Are you going to take out Treylon Burks? I mean, and that's what I always get to. It's like when people really like that fourth or fifth running back. It's like, well, when is he ever going to carry the football? And so, you watch these guys in camp and they look good, and it's great that they look good. It's great that they look like they're getting better. But when are they going to get on the field and be able to actually show you what they can do and if they can do it?
Mason Kinsey had a day yesterday.
Hey.
I mean, doing the salsa, which he said after a TD, which he said was for his girlfriend who was there in the family section.
On the goalpost.
Yeah, and also, after crushing the goalpost, he also, of course, had the fake. That's pretty awesome. The fake $18,000 fine letter from Brian Callahan because he spiked the ball that went into the water. That's a pretty sweet move by Callahan, actually.
Yeah, that's small, subtle stuff that goes with connecting with your football team, and I don't think it's unimportant.
Yeah, that was good. All right, so Will Levis right now, his performance overall in camp compared to what you expected, how do you think he's doing?
I think he's doing fine. I think it's a tough go right now because the defense is really bringing it, and the offense has not really game planned against that defense. They're trying to just kind of do what they want to do. and then the defense is doing what they want to do. So it's kind of set up for the defense to be better, and I think you're seeing progress. I think you're seeing the offense make more plays as each day goes on, and I think that's what's pleasing to me is seeing that. And I think he's still trying to get dialed into Calvin Ridley's speed, which I mean, like outside of Chris Johnson and little Cleef Raymond, I mean, for starting wideout, he's the fastest the Titans have had since Nate Washington. I mean, when you see him open it up, it's different. It's different than anything they've had. And I can see why Will is, still trying to lock that one in with the deep ball.
What about the other two quarterbacks? What have you seen from Rudolph and Willis to this point in camp?
Well, Mason looks like an experienced guy. He's a great big guy. I mean, was he like 6'6"? I mean, he's a big guy. And he doesn't look lost out there. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He's not Charlie Whitehurst. He's not Blaine Gabbert. He looks like a step above those guys. And that's why they gave him money. Because they feel like he's a guy you can come in and play. And he got a vote of confidence from the head coach when asked about playing Malik with the twos. He's like, well, then I got to bring Mason down, and he hasn't done anything to earn being brought down. But Malik does look better. I mean, I think he looks good throwing the football. He made a throw yesterday. Do you see that one, Joe, to the back of the end zone to Kyle Phillips?
Yeah.
There were about 3 guys around. It was a tiny window up high, and he put it up there, and Kyle made a great catch. But it was a gutsy throw, and he let it rip, and he put it on point. I don't think it's a throw he would have made, last year. So, I think his confidence is up. I think the ball's coming out faster. So I'm guessing his recognition is up, a little bit, but, still makes mistakes, which everybody does this time of the year. He made a play, and, Callie just looked at him and threw up his hands, and he just, shook his head. And then the next play he threw an interception. So he had back-to-back, snaps where it didn't go his way. And the interception, he overthrew it. He overshot it. But everybody throws interceptions in camp. So I'm not going to sit here and hang Malik Willis out to dry because he threw an interception, because he does look better. And I would like to see him play, because I want to evaluate his higher level of play against higher level of players, because it's one thing to do it against the third team DBs. It's another to do it against the first and second team. But I think he's played well enough for us to want to see that. So I'm excited to watch Malik play in the preseason, which you'll see on News 2 Saturday at 6. So you're all welcome to join and watch. Yeah. I mean, enough, like going into this season, if you asked me if I was excited to watch Malik play in the preseason, I would have said no. But right now I want to see what the kid can do, because it looks like he's taking a step forward.
Corey, great stuff as always. Thanks for taking time to be with us this week, and we will see you on Saturday night, but also talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks very much, fellas. We hope you all can watch the games and set a ratings record as I melt on the turf at Nissan Stadium.
It's going to be pretty hot Saturday. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
Pretty hot out there.
Got one of those coconut shells.
Thank you, Corey. We appreciate it.
All right, bye.
Corey Curtis from News 2, our guest on Robby and Rexrode. We'll react to what Corey had to say. Take your thoughts on the signing of Quandre Diggs. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you on this Monday morning. Appreciate Corey Curtis for watching it or for joining us here in the last segment. Your Rexrode watching his greatest athlete of all time.
I'm sorry. I'm going to be distracted for a minute here because Simone Biles is doing the floor. This is the trying to win a golden floor, which she would normally win the golden floor, but she hurt herself again. Oh, boy. That's an out of bounds.
That's why he's the GOAT.
I mean, so what you said she hurt her calf, is that right?
That appears to be the consensus.
She already hurt, I guess, her ankle or is her foot before, when they were doing individual qualifying. So she's had quite a run of health. She just had a pass where she went out of bounds. She's by far, for anybody who doesn't follow gymnastics, I'll give you a little information. She is, first of all, by far the best gymnast of all time, and also the best American athlete of all time. But like the difficulty, the stuff she tries, she invents stuff. Like the stuff that she's doing here, oh my God, that's insane. Like she's inventing these moves that no one else has ever done. So anyway, this is an absurd performance again by her, which is live right now. What is it? Is this on E? It's live on E?
Yeah, that's really taking me off guard. I've seen a couple of events on E.
Because I've watched USA. Okay, out of bounds a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see this score. A couple deductions, but that's an absurd performance, and she might win the gold again. There you go. The GOAT, Simone Biles.
Thank you, Nick.
Did you guys see the speaking of the Olympics real quick, did you guys see the Lyles, the 100?
Yeah.
Holy. I actually watched that live. That was, I don't think I've seen a race that close.
How about what he said after the race? Did you see that?
What did he say?
Being world champion, he talked about how when the NBA wins a championship, they claim themselves world champions when they're really
I think
not.
he said that a few months ago, though.
Did he say that? Or was that a few months ago? Okay. Interesting. Well, it resurfaced, and I thought that was very intriguing.
I mean, we're getting to the point. I don't know that we'll ever get to the point where I guess you could. Oh, no. Dylan's mad at me for giving up the Olympics. Sorry, dude.
Sorry.
Is there a no spoilers rule that I just violated?
I don't know.
Disclaimer: you're listening to a sports talk station. We're watching it.
I mean, when the Olympics are happening live and they're on TV, I know that you want to watch primetime and that. I don't think we abide by that, do we?
I mean, it's all over social media anyway. So
yeah. Sorry, Dylan. I hear you. I feel bad, but I'm going to tell you if she won the gold. So you may want to turn your
breaking
radio
news.
off. Yeah. Beep, 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 beep. Sorry, Dylan. No, I mean, the funny thing is, like, we did the primetime thing where it's like, don't talk to each other for one of the gymnastics days. Like, don't talk to each other. We're going to watch it together, primetime. So I get it. But
is this one on tape delay like the 1980 game between the Soviet Union and America?
Yeah. Well, how about the NBA Finals, 1980 NBA Finals?
Hey, it's Tom Brady.
Tape delay. Oh, goody. Tom Brady's there.
Brady's on TV.
Let's
Rexrode, change the channel now.
One real supposed goat watching an actual goat.
As we learned Friday, the Rexrode family hatred for Brady just continues to compound.
That Brennan, yes, I do not hate Brady.
He's probably not one of the top 100.
I mean, I've got Brady squarely in my top 50. Okay, I don't know what that kid's talking about. No, but the world champion thing, NFL teams, NBA teams, NHL teams, and Major League Baseball teams can all say world champion because there's not another team from any other country that's going to beat those teams.
That is correct.
Right? We can all agree. Hey, basketball is getting better.
It's getting better.
Maybe at some point, there's a team from like the Spanish league or whatever that's, that's France league, whatever. That's that level, but we're not there right now.
What do you make of the Quandre Diggs signing by the Titans? 1 year, up to $5 million. So now they've added both Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. So shout out to the Seattle Seahawks in the secondary at the safety spot. Adams, as Corey mentioned, has not been on the field for a few days here. So we'll see what's going on there. It seems like that's part of their plan with him, I guess.
I think that's where, since everybody likes to call it national media, I think we may have had a media failing with that one. Now, Callahan has been pretty much out front on this injury or that injury. Brownlee has a blister, so they've been taping him up, but it's a blister. We know that Awuzie has a calf. It does seem at this point like this is a lot of maintenance for Adams. Like it seems like maybe there's been a setback. So I don't know. I don't think that's been asked, but he's been on the sideline. I mean, we know that Snead has that plan, and Snead did a press conference yesterday. So we know that's the plan with him. But, yeah, I don't know about Adams. Coy in Clarksville says, does that open more blitz packages signing Diggs? Does it open more blitz packages for Adams at strong safety, inside linebacker, OLB? Again, I think Adams is going to be that kind of guy in this defense anyway. I think what this means is now I think you have 3 safeties ahead of Adams, frankly, in terms of like actually playing the safety spot. And now I think it's a Mold and Diggs competition. I know some people are going to just pencil in Diggs as starting safety. If I had to guess right now, opening day, I'd guess Diggs.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% committed to that. I think Molden looks good out there. Molden's whole thing is being healthy. I think Corey had already. Molden's a physical player, and Diggs is 31. He's 31. The Seahawks cut him. They saved $11 million in cap space. And here he comes in for 3 with a chance to get to 5. I mean, it's a good signing. If you had to me, pick one of these 2, I would pick this one over Adams for sure. But maybe they'll both make an impact.
Well, I think it will be Diggs that's starting next to Hooker. And what you have now is some depth, right? Like,
yeah,
Molden can play that spot and has had a good camp. So, like, if you've gone from a position where you didn't have any depth to now you've got some considerable depth that you can rely on if you're Denard Wilson and Brian Callahan. So we'll see how good Diggs still is as a starter. I mean, he's 31. So does it start to go the other way? The one thing you brought up earlier, which I really like about him, is he's been incredibly reliable in terms of his health the last 4 years. He started every game. So that's great. So you feel good about that heading in this year, but there's no question about it. The depth at safety is way better than it was this time a month ago.
Way better. And now I look at edge and say, okay, who's coming in there? They're going to do one on that spot. I think they should. And if I had to guess right now, I would guess that they will. And then all of a sudden you're starting to get to a better point. And of course, Arden Key. Another question on Arden Key is, I do wonder, does he start to kind of lose some reps? It's an interesting dilemma there. Last year, Nicholas Petit-Frere did not play a ton. Yeah, he barely got any reps, like with the ones, because they were like, well, he's got the suspension. You got to get this offensive line ready, which totally made sense. Key's still getting those reps right now, even though he's going to be missing the first 6 games. I mean, maybe there's an appeal and it gets cut down or whatever. But right now, as far as we know, he's missing the first 6 games. But also the argument for giving him those reps is you need to give the offensive line the best possible look. And he and Landry are giving you the best possible look. So we got a question inside linebacker that I think we need to address here.
We will do that coming up next. Take more of your thoughts on the Quandre Diggs signing as well. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Got some tickets to give away to see Earth, Wind, and Fire with Chicago at Bridgestone Arena coming up on Tuesday, April the 20th. That's got Rexrode written all over it.
Wait, Tuesday, April the 20th?
That's what it says.
No, I'm all over this. I thought Earth, Wind, and Fire was playing this fall. I have it on my calendar.
I am Ron Burgundy. I read the prompter.
Go bleep yourself, Nashville. See you in April.
I can tell you. I only read what it says.
All right, we're going to investigate this.
Earth, Wind, and Fire with Chicago at Bridgestone Arena, according to this prompter, Tuesday, April the 20th.
420. Okay, well.
Be more fire than Earth, Wind, and Fire in there.
All right, well, I'm all over that concert. I just want you to know. I will be there whenever month it is.
Vancouver, first round of the Preds playoffs.
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe that means they're coming back. We're going to get double Earth, Wind, and Fire visits. Or maybe my own calendar is wrong. Yeah, that's right.
If we're getting 2 Creeds, we can probably get a couple Earth, Wind, and Fires, too.
Oh, boy. Creed. Coming up soon, right?
Yeah.
Are we going? You guys making me go?
It's like a week from tomorrow.
Yeah.
We still got some time to figure that out.
I'll go if everybody wants to buy
So
my
I
drinks.
do see that on. I think it's. Let me pull it up really quick. I have to put this in front of me. Yeah, it's they're at the Ryman on August 20th.
Okay,
which is interesting.
So we're getting 2 Earth, Wind, and Fires.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
Earth, Wind, and Fire is at the Ryman.
That's what I have right here. Yeah,
okay.
And then they will also be at Bridgestone the next night. So there you go.
And then also,
so are they there April the 20th? Are they there on April the 20th?
That's what I've got online.
Where does April the 20th come from?
Wait a minute. Okay, so you are seeing 3. You're seeing 3 Earth, Wind, and Fires.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
But the first 3 that I see, they're all in Nashville, but they're not in April. So
that's what we're asking.
I don't know.
You don't see a third that's in April.
Not see a third in April yet. No.
Listen, if you love Earth, Wind, and Fire, call in. At some point, you're going to get to go see it.
It's August 20th.
Yes.
Can't confirm.
The suit let us know it is wrong. There you go.
Okay.
August 20th.
Right.
Do not go in April.
Do not go on 420.
April 20th. They could be playing hockey.
So please call us. I have 1 caller so far. I need 2 more. If you want to go see Earth, Wind,
it is in
and
August.
Fire.
And it is Chicago, too.
Yes.
I'm in, man.
I guess
August 20th.
I'm so in
not
on that.
April. Like I said, I'm Ron Burgundy. I just read what's in front of me, man. That's all I do.
They'll start with A.
That's true. Joe, you had a question on inside linebacker that you wanted to get to on the text line.
Yeah, John Michael says, is Gibbons actually going to start? Jack Gibbons at inside linebacker. At this point, John, I would say absolutely. I mean, I think Gibbons Murray is your very solidly entrenched starting inside linebacker crew. I think this weekend, Cedric Gray flashed a couple times, and you want to see that continue. And I think these preseason games are going to be really important for him. But, yeah, right now they have a lot of trust in Jack Gibbons. And I know Jack Gibbons is – I mean, who is he? He's Cole Smith, and he's just, I know fans are like, I really want a more talented person in that role. And so I'm going to hate on Jack Gibbons and NWI and Cole Smith and all these people. But you know what? Some people are pros, and they do their job well. And I don't think he's going to be pushing for Pro Bowl honors this year. But, yeah, I think he's going to start and play a lot of football for the Titans this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would agree, like, perfect scenario, you want somebody probably a little bit more athletic there and with the ability to be a better playmaker. But, I mean, he knows where to be. He knows what to do. And we'll see if it's a big problem. Like Kenneth Murray, I'm really interested to see what he does in the linebacker role this year. I mean, he's going to be wearing the green dot. We've all talked a lot about the green dot. Going to be really interested to see how he plays. And if this is like if the change of scenery is exactly what he needed in his career, or when the games come around, do you see some of the same limitations that we saw with the Chargers? That spot still, I mean, they've clearly upgraded their depth at safety. We've talked about that all day. The secondary you feel good about. Still very interested to see how both edge rusher and inside linebacker go for this team up the middle.
Yeah. And look, I think there's definitely more promising depth at inside linebacker. I talk up Chance Campbell a lot.
You do.
The guy makes plays, man.
That's the thing. Like,
the guy makes plays.
Anybody has like an opinion on Chance Campbell, like how would you know?
Yeah. Well, it's just from practice.
That's what I'm saying though.
Yeah.
Like if people are just like, "Oh, Jared Campbell," it's like,
Right.
how would you know?
Yeah, I mean, the injuries
You got to stay healthy. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, the injuries have been bad. So, but he's out there now, and it looks pretty good. And Gray, it's early for him, so they have some depth. I mean, the edge is just where I just don't know. I don't know if that depth is the depth that can really help you much on Sundays at this point. So, I think the next thing, now that 2 Seattle Seahawks safeties have been signed, I think the next thing is a move there.
Yeah, I would agree, and I would think that's coming too, right? Like it'd be very difficult for me to imagine that Rand Carthon's looking at this group right now and would be comfortable going through the rest of camp with the group that they have. Like to me, you've got to make at least one, maybe even two. Like you might have to make a couple of additions there and just see like if you could find a diamond in the rough doing something like that. I don't know if it's Carl Lawson. I don't know if it's Igakwe or whoever, but like I think you got to take a chance on somebody to come in and fill that spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that will happen. Dennis says that did I see a Titans player say Kenneth Murray is their leader? I missed that, Dennis. If he said that, if someone said he is their leader, I think he's a leader though. I mean, he's a veteran in the league, very talented guy, and he's out there. His voice is very evident out there. And it's a very different, the view of Kenneth Murray in camp is very different from like when they signed him. It's like, man, this guy, first round, he was incredible at Oklahoma. And it just, didn't really work out with the Chargers. What's going on with this guy? And now it's like, yeah, I think he's a guy who very motivated to prove that he can play at a high level in this league. So I think he has a chance to be one of the leaders on D.
Adam in Portland on the text line. Here's the $1 million question. How would you attack the Titans? If it were me, I'd feel very confident that I could run all over us and overload the new offensive line and pressure Levis. What say you? Well, I think defensively for sure, like I'm feeling pretty good if I'm a front right now based on what we've seen, especially going up against that right side. And then left side, we'll see. We'll see if Latham is up to the task. In terms of attacking the defense, how do you think teams are going to try to attack that defensive unit that we see now from the Titans out there?
Well, I think when teams look at the Titans, and obviously there's no film of this. I don't think there'll be film of this from the preseason either, because I don't think Simmons plays. But that, you said it earlier, there's a few guys that it's like, why do it at all? But I think when teams prepare for the Titans this year, they're going to be talking about how good they are inside up front, and then how good they are at corner. So the middle of the field, is that where how are these guys in terms of coverage at linebacker?
Right.
I'm trying to take advantage of matchups there for sure. And how good are the safeties? Titans have bolstered themselves there. They have depth there. They have guys who have played at a high level, but how good are they right now? I think that's what you look at. Do you feel like if you double Landry, if you help on Landry, that you're not going to have to worry about them on the edge? The problem with that is that if Sweat is going to be out there in all situations with Simmons, then you can't double everybody.
Right.
I think the Titans are absolutely like opposing offensive coordinators are going to circle the middle of the line and be like, we have to figure this out. We can't let them wreck the game, because they can wreck some games this year.
Rob asking, could the Titans put Adams at linebacker some and use him that way?
Yeah, some. And again, I think an early down role for him as almost like a third linebacker. You call it a big nickel or whatever. I think that is something that I would look for. As far as like full time, like you get in there and be one of the linebackers. No, I don't think so. There's still a difference in size and strength between him and like those two guys, like 20, 25 pound difference. Right. So I don't think and I know he talked about, I guess Seahawks talking to him about that. I think he's a tweener. I think he's going to be a chess piece that in certain situations could be useful.
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. More coming up next on the Titans. Got a lot more of your thoughts to get to. We will do that next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on the Titans on our text line. Joe Rexrode has done some capital J journalistic investigation and has uncovered what L'Jarius Sneed said yesterday, thanks to Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com.
Well, yeah, I mean, Dennis actually did the
Dennis has uncovered it.
Dennis uncovered it, but I went and looked at it. And yeah, I mean, he did say he's our leader quickly in there. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'd like to see that fleshed out a little bit. I'm definitely on board with the idea that he is one of the leaders quickly. A new guy, but there is a void, as we've talked about, as last week kind of illustrated too, with all the Simmons stuff. So there's definitely opportunity for people to step into leadership roles, and he is a veteran, even though he's a new guy. Look, I think if you want to talk about vocal leadership on the field, like, I mean, Jamal Adams has that too. It's just how much is he going to be on the field. Amani Hooker certainly is one of those guys. So, but yeah, you want leadership from linebacker spot, right? I mean, they're kind of in the middle of everything, and so I think he would be one of them. I mean, I don't know if you polled everybody on the defense if they would like rank him as their number one leader. I don't know, but that's Sneed said it. So
thought Jeffrey Simmons, number one leader.
I mean, I think if you had
get
said,
back into that,
well, I mean, if this was an anonymous poll of all the Titans offensive players, I bet you that Simmons would get more votes than Murray.
I would agree. That would
Even
be
despite what all we all say about it, they look at things a different way.
They do. Maybe they would go to Vondre Sweat, stepping into a leadership role already. I'd love to do this. Let's get an athletic anonymous poll out there, like a player poll.
Well, I'm doing those, by the way.
Are you?
Oh yeah, the athletic. Boy. We have and we're all supposed to get 5 guys. So I've got 3 of my guys already.
Oh,
so.
Boy.
Did you know Joe writes for The Athletic?
There you go. Haven't heard that one in a while. So yeah, there's some interesting questions that we've got, about a variety of topics, including most annoying player in the league.
Ooh.
This is a great question. I'm totally like giving up like our poll, but I'm not going to give any answers. But it's a trivia questions I didn't know. So one of the questions is who's going to be the next. So there's only 3 active players in this league who won an MVP. Did you know that?
Really?
3 active players in this league who won an MVP. It's Rodgers, Mahomes, and Lamar.
Okay.
And the question is who's the next guy who's in the league who's going to win an MVP, which is a very interesting question. So
that is interesting.
Yeah. So look for that in the future.
I like it. Good stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm really interested Saturday to see, number one, who's going to play. How long are they going to play? We threw the question out there earlier. I mean, there's a lot on Petit Frere coming back into practice the last couple of days with this offensive line. I am very interested to see, like, does Brian Callahan and Bill Callahan, when they're talking through their plan this week, do they say, you know what, we probably need to leave our starters on the line out there maybe a little bit longer than normal? I mean, J.C. Latham, things look really good. He is still a rookie, so I would imagine some reps that you can get him at left tackle would be good. And then the right side, like, I think right now they're probably in a spot where they need as many reps as they can possibly get over there, regardless of if it's Ojukwu or Petit Frere or whoever over Radens at right guard. Like, there's a lot of reps that they need. So I am very interested to see how that part of it plays out with the starters on Saturday. And then we'll be watching Rudolph and Willis play quarterback pretty closely.
Yes.
We think split time, pretty much.
Yeah, probably pretty close to that, something like that. I would think that after 3 games, they'll probably both be pretty similar. So I'm trying to read into Callahan's comments yesterday on starters because I know everybody wants to know, and we all want to know, like, how much are they going to play them? He said, normal week for them. So this is what he said. He said, quote, our starters, they're going to play a little bit, but it's not going to be overly taxing on them. And then he said, so basically that's why in the padded practices, I think Wednesday and Thursday, are both padded practices. You emphasize the 1s reps and then you pull the 2s and 3s back because they're going to play more in the game. So don't look for like some massive first half of starters like the NFL used to be in these preseason games. That's not going to happen. It is interesting, though. He has already said when they do the Seahawks week next week, like that's going to be less in the game.
Yep.
So you would think this would be more in the game. So there's not much in the game here. Then
No.
Yeah, but maybe they'll feel the need in the third preseason game at New Orleans, by the way, to do a lot more of a dress rehearsal in that game.
I'm interested. I mean, you're playing also the team with probably the best roster in the league coming up on Saturday. Now, I have no idea how Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch view the preseason. My guess is with the amount of guys that they have that have played a lot of football together is they're probably not going to play very many starters coming up on Saturday.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. But, I mean, if they did, you get a pretty darn good look
It would.
very early as to how the Titans stack up against one of the league's best rosters.
So the Niners would be, not that the Seahawks are bad, but the Niners would be an awesome 2-day practice opponent, right?
Yes.
And you really test yourself against some of the
JC,
guys they
here's
have.
Nick Bosa. Have fun.
Exactly. I mean that all the skill guys for that secondary. I mean that's, of course, trying to think. They not everybody's even taking part in camp with them, but still, that'd be a very good look. So yeah, I'm guessing you're gonna not see a ton of those guys. George Kittle.
I bet you'll see
because
some
he's
Juwan
from
Jennings.
Nashville. They'll let him play some or something.
I bet you'll see some Juwan Jennings.
Yes, that's right. Juwan Jennings. Hey man, that's he's a very underrated guy on that team. Actually, makes big plays for them.
Well, if Ayuk doesn't sign a deal, maybe he'll be in a bigger role this year. Who knows? They're going to trade him. Make a mid-game trade with the Titans. Ayuk just walks across the sideline.
Ooh, man. Imagine this offense then.
It's going to be fun to see.
Hopkins, is your fourth receiver?
Yeah. What happens if we get about a week and a half down the road after the Seahawks stuff, and it's pretty clear that Petit Frere is not doing very well at right tackle? Is panic setting in at that point if you're the Titans?
Well, I don't really know where you go from here if you just don't have an answer on this roster. That is really, I know people sometimes say, well, can you trade for one? No one's trading anybody who can play on offensive line. There are not enough guys who can play in the offensive line in the league. It's just how it is. So yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem if Petit Frere can't solidify it and kind of distance himself. Duncan's getting in there some too still, but they need Petit Frere to really separate himself. For me, in the last 2 days, I think I saw some things that I thought were good. I didn't see anything terrible from him. I mean, maybe others.
Guy almost by default. And then the question is going to be like whether or not he's good enough.
Yeah.
Don't we, again, I'm not Bill Callahan. I'm not an offensive line evaluator, but I mean, it's pretty clear that what they've been doing out there on the right side is not going very well. So like deep down, don't you kind of know if you're Bill Callahan and Brian Callahan that it's going to have to probably be Petit Frere and you just got to ride with it, better or worse?
Yeah. I mean, you want guys to feel like they're competing as many spots as possible. So you don't want him to have that sense of security, and you don't want the other guys to resign themselves to being backups. But yeah, when they're talking to each other, it's got to be like, man, Nick's got to step up here. So we'll see if he does. And we'll see, if he, again, Wednesday and Thursday, you get more looks at these guys. I think 2 padded practices and then, the game Saturday. Yeah, you just don't really have a great place to turn. And again, right guard, we're not talking about enough. Sadiq Charles banged up, was out there. Radin's now in there. Brunskill, is behind those guys. But you got to be solid there too. And if you're real problem at either spot, weakens the other spot, in theory.
Well, I just feel good that we're finally in game week, kind of, for the preseason. The more we can expedite the preseason along, the better I am with it. Let's just get through this thing and get to some real football.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, to me, this is kind of like the last week. I look at this as like the last week of camp.
Yeah.
In a sense, just that, we're going to start seeing them on the field. So you'll get a better sense for like the back end of the roster guys. And, then it's basically you just start looking toward football. I mean, the camp aspect of camp is basically, to me, done this week. And, now next week you have the joint practices, and those are some of the best things you have in training camps anymore. So that, I guess in a way, it doesn't end. But preseason games take you to the new level, and then you get quickly sick of those too.
Yep. That's going to do it for us today here on the program. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend, and we've gotten you off to a beautiful start here on Monday. We've got some gymnastics, by the way. You didn't spoil it, so that's good.
Yeah, I didn't spoil it. There's a medal ceremony going on right now. You can find out later, everybody.
Did a nice job.
Thanks.
Chasing Big Joe coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.